Okay guys, welcome back to my channel. My name is David. Today I'm going to show you how to build this iChair e-commerce website using Vue.js 3. So yes, we are building an application with Vue. In my previous videos, I will show you how to build an application with React.js and also Next.js. In the next couple of sessions, I plan to build a few applications with Vue, which is another JavaScript framework to build a modern website. If you also want to see this one in Next.js or React.js, I can do as well. Just leave a comment down below. Firstly, let me show you what this application feature. So when you look at the hero section, you will see that this amazing pictures and also this carousels has been presented to you. And this one is entirely swipeable. And when you click on any one of those, you will see this amazing and cool animation pops out to the DOM. And you can choose any demo chairs you want. And click on it, you will see this spinning effects comes out to the browser. Alright? So, and also on this one, you will see this index of that item gets shown. And also we have the video button. We'll click on it. It'll take you to the video page to further demonstrate the product. Okay. And also you will see the Learn More button. When you click on it, it'll take you to that individual page of the item. All right. Here you get to see the detailed picture of the chair, and also you get to choose the color of the chair and choose the quantity of the chair. And then remember this one, we choose the red, and this one 3. Just pay attention to the side icon, which is the shopping cart. When I click on add to cart, this will automatically increase to 1. And when you scroll above, this one disappear, but the top corner, this one increase to 1 as well, which indicate that you have one item in your shopping cart. And then if you click on the shopping cart button, it'll take you to your shopping cart page, which is the red chair with a quantity of 3 that we choose. It has a built-in discount effect of 5%, and you can manage to set to another number, and it will automatically calculate the amount that you need to pay to the owner of the website, and also shows the total. Alright, these things are all calculated automatically. Leave the cart as it is. We go back to the home page. As you can see, when the page gets loaded, there's a spinning arrow. I show you again. There's a spinning effect shows the data is loading. So basically means that this application is dynamic. All the data is not static data. It's coming from the backend. Alright. So we go to the next section, which is our product section, which is another highlight of my application. As you could see, this amazing card design with that cool hover effect. When you hover your mouse on it, it'll have that lift pop up, and all the detailed information gets to show with the color, with the price, and also the Learn More. Here you get to choose the product as well. If you click on the Learn More button, it'll take you to that individual page with the product details, the price, the discount, and also this one we choose the blue color, and also with a quantity of 2. Add to cart. As you can see in our cart, this one, when we go in, as you can see, there's a 2 items that has been correctly added into our cart. Okay, so we can remove any of those. Here you get to empty your cart, and then we're going back to our page. We choose another one. We add it to our cart. There's a 1 item in it. Going to our home page, and we choose a yellow one. This one we need 2. Add to our cart, and now we got 2 items in our cart. You go in there, you can see all of those items are there, and the total amount has been worked out automatically. You don't have to manually calculate, because this one will equals to the price minus discount, which will be your net payment, and all the net payment will be added together at a total. And here it shows the total amount of item inside your shopping cart. Alright, so if you have a third-party APIs, for example PayPal or Stripe or any other payment links, when you click on the checkout button, it should link your product data and also the payment data into your third-party API, and you are allowed the user to pay online. Alright, so keep going back to our home page, and the service section, it shows the service that your company can offer to the customer. Here you don't get to see the navigation on the top, and that's because in our application we have the side navigation, which is this one, which is toggled, and you can keep clicking on the contact. It takes you down further, and here we're going to use some validator. I'm going to show you that validation with a Vue. When you click on the send message, you will see all these arrows pops up, but when you start to fill in, this arrows moves away because this field is required. Alright, all these things are handled by something called a validator, which is a Vue form validation package. I'm going to show you how to use it. And the last but not least is the footer, standard footer section with a back to top button. Here if you click on it, it takes you back to the top, and our side shopping cart icon disappear, the top one appear. Okay, it still contains 2 items in our shopping cart. If you scroll down a bit, the headers disappear, but our side icon appear. So it's always give a chance to the user to see your shopping cart. All right, and if we go into our shopping cart, the 2 items we previously added in still stay in our shopping cart. And here, if you want it, you can remove them off and clear off your shopping cart. Okay, so that's pretty much the features of this application. And not only that, if you turn on your mobile views, if example like this, I turn on the mobile view, this one is fully responsive as well. On the mobile view, you get to scroll these chairs down the bottom, and if you click on one of those, it also gives you that cool spinning animation. Everything remains the same, right? And the top navigation disappear on the mobile view, but the side one will stay. So this one gives you the chance to go to another section with the product. This one have that cool hover effect as well. Everything looks okay and decent. Alright, so it's a fully responsive website with all the cool features. Alright, so if you're excited about this Vue project and want to start to code along with me, please subscribe my channel, like it, and share it. Let's just jump in and do it now. So to quickly start off this project, what we're gonna do, if you pop onto the Vue.js website, which is their official one, in the quick start, you will see this with npm package, or if using Yarn, you can use the Yarn code. We're just gonna have to type in this one into our terminal, so we'll copy that, or you can manually key in. So we're going to our terminal, and then we key in that. You must choose a directory before you key in this one, otherwise it will be installed at a random place. And give a space. You can probably just type in some project name. Say I want to name it iChair. eCommerce, Vue App. iChair eCommerce Vue App, so something like that, anything you want, and just hit enter, and it's asking you, do you want to add a TypeScript? We're going to use JavaScript for this project for now, so I say no. And do you want the JSX support? I say no. Do you want to add router to a single app? We do need a router because remember that we have a multiple page, we have that product detailed page, and also we have the shopping cart page. So we do want to add a router. So we say yes. And do you want to Pina? No. So do we want to have a testing? We say no. Do we want to have a testing solution? We say no. So a link? We say no. So everything you are not sure of, just click on no. So once you've done that, you pretty much have set up this project for us. And the next step, you just follow the instruction by saying cd iChair and dash eCommerce Vue App. So we'll just get into that folder. As once you get into that folder, change directory, you will see the folder's name, the directory name changes as well. And then we're just gonna open up this project in our code editor instead of install from our outside terminal. So we say code /. So I'm using code editor for this project, which is my favorite editor. If you're using something else, it's 100% okay, it's up to you. So I expand this one, so you can see the whole folders. So far, we only have the package.json file, but we haven't installed anything yet. So the next step is just to control backtick to open up the terminal inside the code editor, and then we say follow the instruction over here. It wanted to npm install and npm run dev. So we key in that npm install, I for install. Here, it will automatically install all the packages that has been pre-rendered inside the package.json file. It's just gonna take a couple seconds. Yep. And once it's done, we're just gonna say npm run dev. If you're not sure which one to type in, just click on the package.json file. Here, it has a script for you to type. When you type npm run dev, it's actually looking at this one. It's actually trying to trigger the white, which is the white build, white preview. Those are the Vue code, the original Vue code to initiate the project. But because we are using the npm package, it'll give you that kind of alien to allow you to type in npm run dev. It's actually run the white code. Okay, so we just hit this one. So once you hit it, it's supposed to run your project on localhost 5173. Hold your command or control key and click on it. You will have your Vue project started. Alright, this is how you initiate a Vue.js project. And back to the editor. Next, I'm going to show you the basic features and basic structures of the Vue project. Our next job is going to briefly go through the structures and features of the Vue app. And when you look at it, one of the Node modules, this one is going to be the similar one as your React or Next.js app. So it contains all the dependencies that has been installed for this application. And then the next one is going to be the public. The public is going to hold your public static assets. So for example, if you have any static image or videos, it'll be holding it here. And then one of the most important one for you to look at is the source folder, because the source folder that contains the assets which have the base CSS and the main, and also any logos. And also it has the component folder, which is the same function as the component that you use in your React or Next.js applications. This one will be your reusable components. And then, because we are building a multiple page website, it comes within a router. In this router, it contains the index. If you look at it, so far we have two routes. One is for the home page, the other one is for the about page. If you look at our app, the home page, the about page, it allows you to swap between one to another. Alright? So this is the index page that serves all of your routes. If you want to have your own customized routes, the best place to manage is to change this for your purpose. And then the next one is going to be your view. Whenever you have a new page, that page is going to take a new view, right? So if you have an about page, this one is going to take the about view, and you have a home page, this one is going to take the home view. All right, so that's going to be two pages. And all the things essentially is going to be wrapped inside your app.vue file. This app.vue file is going to be the same as your app.js file in your React app. All right, it wraps and contains all the components that you're going to need. Say for example, we have that home and about, and we have the router view. This router view actually refers to anything you set up here in the router because we export it. All right, so if you have a home page that takes the home view and about page that takes the about view, and all the things going to be wrapped up together and injected here as in the router view. So this one will contain the home view and the about view, and the view itself knows when it's come to the change of the page. All right, okay. So that's gonna be our app view. Basically, the way that the Vue app works comes in three parts. One is going to be the template, which is the position where you put your HTML code. Your traditional HTML template is going to be loaded here. And the second one is going to be your script tag. This one contains all of your JavaScript for the application for that component. And then the third part is going to be the style view. The style part contains the styling code, the CSS, for that component. All right. So for each component, it comes within three parts: the template, the script, and also the style. The template is a compulsory. You must have some HTML template for this component to be presented. However, the script and the style are optional. All right. Some components may be too easy. It doesn't come within some JavaScript. That's okay. If that component does not come within some customized CSS, it's also okay. Okay. So that's what it is. So let me just close off these few things. And the next one I'm going to show you is the index file. This index file actually loads this one. Div ID equals to app. This ID equals to app actually refer to this app view, because if you look at the main.js in the end, the way that the Vue app works is that inside the Vue package we have a method called createApp, and then the Vue will create this app and then use the router, and eventually it's going to mount our app. All right, mount our app ID. This app ID refer to this one with ID equals to app. Okay, and all the things has been injected over here. So the way to link this app ID with the app view is going to use this way. Right? That's the Vue way of rendering components on the DOM, which is a very similar to React project. Okay, and once we know that, we are ready to get on to our project building. So our next job is going to install the dependencies for our project and start to build our components and sections and then pages. So now let's set up the structure for our own project. And the first thing, I'm going to install a few dependencies that we're going to use. Keep this one on because it's running our application, and open up a new terminal. And inside here, we're just going to say npm. First, we're going to install the Bootstrap. And by the way, this application has a lot of a customized CSS design. It's not a minimalism application. It contains the customized CSS for the animation and for the banner and for the home page. So, but to make it responsive, And I'm still gonna install the Bootstrap because it's easier to have that Bootstrap framework to make the responsive website. So we install that one. Oops, I forgot the install. So install Bootstrap, and also we're gonna use the Bootstrap icons. And the next one, we're gonna use something called a JSON server to serve our mock backend. And we're gonna have something called a Swiper to make that carousel on the home page. And that's pretty much it. Yeah, so far we just installed this Vue. Later on, we're gonna install field mode dependencies when it comes to form validation. Okay, so hit enter, and now it's going to install all of these things for us. All right, so now we have it ready. You can delete this second terminal because it's done its job. Leave the first one on and close off the terminal. If you install it correctly, you will see that we have all of these dependencies added over here, and those things will be installed in the node modules as well. Okay, close off the package.json file. And our next one is to clean up those few things. If you look at the browser now, it's still showing that Vue built-in page. We don't want this. Okay, so what I'm going to do is to go to our app view. First, we're gonna delete all of these, and we do not need a header, so I'm gonna delete all of the headers and the router view as well. And for the CSS, we don't need that because we have our own customized thing. And I save it. I'm just gonna give a very random name over here by saying h1, and we call it iChair eCommerce app. Okay, so make it simple. Normally my habit is to put a script below the template and something like that, which is the traditional way of running the Vue app. And as you can see, the structure now becomes clearer because we have the template to hold HTMLs, we have the script to hold JavaScript or TypeScript in the future, and we have the starting file to hold the CSS. All right, so all the things belongs to that specific component only. Okay, this is the way how we build the Vue app. And once you've done that, if you're going back to your Vue app, you will see that you only have this thing shown in the middle. All right, iChair eCommerce app. And if you look at other folders, if you go to your Vue folders, currently you have those views, but we don't need it. So what I'm going to do is to delete all of this view. Just delete that, so we leave with an empty Vue folder. For the router, we do need to set up the router later on, but it has the perfect structure for the router. Later on, we're just going to change the router's name and the component. So I still leave it as what it is. Do not delete this page. Leave that file on. And in the component, it comes in with that icon and also a few components that Vue provided initially. We don't need any of those. So we delete all the things inside the component. And inside the assets, what you need to leave on is actually the main and also the base. The base is actually the variable is going to be used inside this application. You can delete all of these. You don't need that if you have your own. And also for the main as well, we're just going to delete all of these as well. So now we are ending with an empty thing. For the icon, we don't need the logo of the Vue. Well, if you want to use it, you can still leave it on. I'm just going to leave it on. And so far, we have a very clear application with that titles on. And I do recommend you to comment out everything inside this index.js file inside the router, because it actually links the component which we already delete. If you don't comment this out, the code is still going to run in this index file because we have it exported over here. And then when you're looking for that home view component, it has been deleted by us. All right, so you'll need to comment this out to disable it temporarily. And then you go to your main.js to comment out this import for router and app use router. So we are temporarily disable the router feature for this application. Later on, when it comes to building our second route, we'll rebuild or rewrite this index page, and then we're going to import it over the app. Okay, so that's our arrangement so far. And now we're all good. Refresh the page, that title is on. And our next one is going to put in our own CSS settings and some general settings for the applications. So first thing, if you look at the main, I already put in 2 lines of code. One is to import the Bootstrap, the other one is to import the Bootstrap icon CSS files. So once you've done that, the Bootstrap will be applied to all of your applications. These 2 things must be imported before you import that app.main. And then you go to that the main.css, because we have deleted all the original CSS design. So I'm going to put in the design for our app. First, we're going to import the Roboto font from Google Fonts. You can have this link. You just jump into Roboto, or just jump into the Google Fonts, and then you search Roboto, and then you will find this link. It's very basic CSS setting. And then we're going to set the entire page margin and padding to 0, box sizing border box, and we can set up few root colors for our application. Make sure that you have all of your H1 to H2, H4, and paragraph 2. Actually, I want a white color instead of the black color. Yeah, we can use the black color for now. Later on, I'm going to change it back. And then for the body, we're going to set up the position relative with our background color, which is this one. And then make sure you have that font family Roboto. And then width, take the 100%, minimum height 100% of the screen height. I do want to remove the scroll bar of the body because I want to make the website looks elegant and decent. But you want to leave it on, just comment this line. And for all the anchor tag, we want to make sure that it does not have the underline. So we use the text decoration none and give it a cursor point. Alright. These code are for the general setting for our sections. We haven't got to that stage yet, but I'll come to it later on. So far, we're all good. If we're going back, you will see this one is not quite obvious. So what I'm going to do is to change its color to white and save it. Now if we're going back, you will see our background color has changed to the body background color, which is our theme color, and also this color looks correct. Okay, so now we have done the general settings. Close this off, close this one, close this one. And to think about what is going to be our next job. And we're going to start it from the headers, and also the side menu, and then we build our home section, which is the hero part, right? So let's start it from our first component, which is going to be the header. And to build our header section, what we're going to do is inside the component folder, we create a new file called header.vue. So not JSX, that's for the React app. So now we're creating the Vue app. And here you just need to create a template. We can say Vue init. So there are some shortcuts for the Vue. I believe you go to your extension and let's see, for the Vue one, yeah, we have this Vue 3 snippet. If you install this one, either this one or this one, you try, I can't remember. It's probably this one, Vue 3 snippet or Vue official. If you install one of those, it should give you that shortcut. Like if you want to create a boilerplate for the Vue temp, you just say Vue init, and then it'll create a boilerplate for you. Alright? So that's what it is. We're going back. So now we have that template. We don't need the language, so we delete that. And for this application, I'm going to use the composition API, not an optional one. The optional one is the traditional way of running the Vue app. But now, since the Vue has been upgraded a little, so we're going to use the composition API, like we're going to use the setup. And for the style, we're going to add a word called a scope, because scoped means that the CSS only apply to this component, not anywhere else. If you don't add this, you can apply to all applications where it's relevant. Okay, so now we have the template ready, and the next job is going to type in our header. So what I'm going to do, delete that, and then we're going to create a header tag, and with the ID of home. And once you've done that, the first thing is to create our logo. If you look at our original project, which is this one, we have a logo, we have our navigation, and then we have our shopping cart icon. The logo, I'm going to use something called a router link, because we installed the Vue Router at the very beginning of the video, so we can use this one called a router link. Oops, that's not going to be a self-closed. This one. And then we're going to create something router link. Yeah, something like so. If you look at your package.json file, you have that Vue Router, which is this one. If you install this, you can use this one straight away and without have to importing it. This is the beauty of the newer version Vue. And inside the router link, what you need to set up is the tool, which is the similar to the href in the anchor tag. Okay, this one is going to take the user to the home page, and we give a class name of logo. And here we're just gonna put in our brand name, iChair. I just name it randomly because we are building a mock project, not a real one. But you can name it anything you want. If you do have any brand image, you can put it in over here. Okay, so that's our first thing. The second thing is going to have our navigation. So we set up the structure for it. It's going to be in a list with a class name of nav, something like so. As you can notice that the Vue project actually used the original class instead of the class name as how you did in the React app. Okay, so this is one of the things that makes things a lot easier. And the last thing we're going to create is going to be a feature, and that feature actually contains our shopping cart. So like so. So now our header has been divided into 3 parts. One is the logo, the other one is the navigation, and then the third part is going to be the features. And if you look at the original project, 1 part, 2nd part, 3rd part, all correct. Okay. And the next job is to fill up the navigation. The navigation, we can hard code everything over here, but I don't want to do it in that way. Instead, inside our source folder, what I'm going to do is to create a new folder called data. In this data folder, we're going to store all of our static data for this file. So say, for example, data.js, I create something like that. And over here, I'm just going to copy and paste in the data for our navs. Okay, we export a nav data, which is going to be an array that contains all the objects. And if you look at the property, each navigation object has an ID, and also the name, the link, and also if it's active or not. The first one has been set to active by default. The remaining one are all false. That's our data. And now inside our header, we're just gonna build our navigation based on this data. Okay. So to import that data into our Vue file, what we're gonna do inside our script, we're gonna first import our nav data. So here we say import the nav data from the data file. Sometimes you have the auto import, so this one is working. So you have your nav data, and then the next job is to set our nav data into a local state variable. You know, when you build a React app, you sometimes use something called use state hook to build a local state variable. In Vue, we have something similar. So we say create a new variable called navs, and that one equals to ref, and then you're just gonna link in that nav data. So what it does is that when you put in the original JavaScript data inside a ref, this thing becomes reactive. Because you need your navigation to be reactive, when the user click on it, you need to add the active status to the one they click on and remove the active status to the previous one. Okay, this one needs to be reactive to the user's click events. And for that reason, we have to put the data into the ref hook, and then make the nav data become reactive with the user. Okay, that's the first job. And then once you have that, you can actually do a mapping over here. We're going to map our nav data into our nav list. And the list rendering is actually different from how we handled it before inside the React app, where we use the JavaScript higher order array function. Something like a map. Here we're going to use a for loop. So what we're going to do is to create a list, and inside that list we actually gonna loop through all the navigations inside the array. So we say v4. That's going to be a for loop, and for each nav we actually don't need an index. For each nav inside the navs, these navs refer to the one down below, which is the one you just linked in. Okay, we want a key to be bounded with the nav.id. Okay, if you look at the data, each nav does have an ID, and that's in how you bind it. As long as you do a data mapping or a data looping, they must come with a key. This key will allow each element inside that loop to be unique. and then we do a vbind. Vbind means that using this colon to bind this key with some sort of dynamic variable. Okay, originally we can say vbind, something like so, is the same like a shortcut for that vbind. We can use a colon. All right, it's the same thing. And then once you bind it, you can actually loop through it. So the easiest way to show is that inside here we're going to create a router link. Originally it's supposed to be an anchor tag, something like so. So you just create an anchor tag, but anchor tag have the disadvantage is that when the user click on it, it'll reload the page. All right. To prevent the page reloading, we're going to use something called router link. Router link, and inside this router link, we're just going to put in the dynamic name of the nav. In Vue App, we use double curly braces to wrap the dynamic variable. So here we're going to say nav.name, like so. And before that, we're going to have to tell which page you want to go. So all of here is going to the home page, right? Something like so. Once you've done that, let's just try if we can present this thing on the DOM. So far, if you look at the DOM, there's nothing there, and that is because all the things, remember, must be wrapped inside the app before it can be loaded on the DOM. So far, our app only have that hard-coded text words in it. So I'm going to delete this one, and I'm going to put in our header, like so. Because we're going to use the header, what I'm going to do, put this one next to it. We have to import it. So we say import header from our components folder, something like so. And then if you look at our browser, our header should be there. As you can see, everything's there. The reason why it looks so ugly is because I haven't put in the CSS yet. Once I've done so, it should look beautiful, right? But you know that the navigation has been mapped correctly with the home, product, service, and contact, with our brand name, iChair, all loaded correctly. Okay. So the next job inside our head, I'm going to put in the style for this part. So we're going to copy and paste in all the styles for the header. It's a pretty standard one. We'll make sure the header has a position relative. Take the width of 95%. Remember, we have a sidebar over here which takes 5% of the width, so the header should take the remaining 95% to give sufficient space for the sidebar. And then make sure the justify space between, everything aligned vertically in the middle. The logo, we'll give them a certain font size. The nav, we'll make sure it displays flags. And then we want to make sure we want to remove the bullet point of all the list item. And for the anchor tag, this anchor tag actually refers to the router link, because when it presented on the DOM, this router link will be translated into the anchor tag. Alright? The only beauty with it is that it will give the advantage of not reloading the page when a user click on it. Okay? And then that's a setting for the navigation, and that's setting for the feature, right? And also you want to make sure it's responsive on the different screen size, say for example mobile. Alright? All there. So once we've done that, if we're going back to our app, you will get to see this one, and all the things over here has been listed horizontally, which is correct, even though the color isn't correct yet, but I'm going to change it real quick. And then double check, we defined the color for the anchor tag over here to white, and I make it important, it's still not working. So the reason is because at the very beginning of the project, we actually commented out these, let me show you. In the main, we actually comment out this import router and app use router. If we comment this out, the app is not going to use the router setting. So that's why when we put in the React router link, the Vue router link, this won't apply because the app does not use router. So all the settings or components inside the router will not be rendered. To solve this problem, we have to release our router setting, and that's going to be a few-step job. First, if you look at the router in the index file, we comment this out, alright? And now I want to release it. We release out, but you can see that they still have the old Vue component, which is the built-in component. We don't need all of this. So firstly, I'm going to comment out the second route. So far, we are only dealing with the home routes. For the component, we do need a component called home view So what I'm going to do is inside our Vue to create another file, new file called home_view.vue, and we have to initialize it by saying Vue init. And now you have a template, which is okay. So now if you're going back, you save this one, we can find the home Vue component inside our Vue folder. This one gets loaded, imported here, and then whenever the user going to the root path, it's going to load the home Vue component straight away. Okay, so that's how the router is working. And now we export our router here, and going back to our main, because we exported, we have to import it over here, and then allow the app to use the router. So now everything gets linked up. So if you've done all of these settings and now you go back, you get to see all of those navigations has been successfully rendered on the DOM. Okay, so the other reason is because we're trying to use the router link, which is the Vue Router component. However, we haven't released or built that router yet. So now all good. The next job is that if you look at the original project, the first icon is supposed to be the home icon instead of the home text box. The remaining one are fine. So how are we going to solve this problem? All right, we have to do the conditional rendering. Basically means that if the navigation's name is home, we're going to show the icon, and if the navigation is not a home, we're going to show the text box. So that is what we call conditional rendering. So here, instead of just saying the router link and nav name, we have to do a conditional thing, something like, I'm just going to say router link, close that off, and then router link. So here we want to do a render of that home icon. To find the home icon, the best place is to go to the Bootstrap icons. So now we are at the Bootstrap icons homepage, and then you just type in home, and I choose this one, copy that, back to editor, and then put it in. So now we can do a conditional rendering to check if the nav name equals to home or not. If it does, and we'll show this one. If it's not, we'll show the second one. All right. How are we going to handle that? We use something called vif. So we're going to say nav.name triple equals to home. If that's the situation, we're going to show this one. Else, the second line is going to be velse. Else, we're going to show the name. All right. Very easy to handle. It's like the if-else statement traditionally. And once you've done that, going back, this color isn't correct, but you get to see the icon there. Let me check. Oh, I put it into the wrong place. Hang on. Yeah, it is the right place. Let me try to handle it this way. Yeah. That one should be all working. So we got the icon in the middle. Now we're going back. Yeah, it's a very faded color, but it's there. Let me just try to solve this issue. Yeah, it turns out to be a very small typo that I made. It's not router link, it's the router link. So just gonna delete this one and save it, and now it's back, right? All good. So we have our navigation done, and the next thing is that when a user click on the navigation button, and they're supposed to change the color to our same yellow color, but now only the hover effects are working. So what we have to do, if you look at the CSS, when the nav list is on hover or on active class name, the color should change to the primary color of our web. Okay, so how are we going to decide which one is going to be active or not? We use the class name. All right, so the class name must be conditionally bind to the settings of our data. If you look at the data, we have an active property which has been set to true for the first one, but false for the remaining one. But now when we go back, we just want to put in that class name over here, and be after. Let's say we do a class name of active. We can manually type in active and make it active, right? That color changes. However, this is not a correct way, because we need to make sure the class name is dynamic. It linked to our data property over here. How do we do a binding of our class name to the variable features? We use that colon sign as well. So we want to make sure the class is active and bind it to our navigation's active. So we say nav active. If nav active is true, and then we're going to show the actual class name of active. Well, you can write it in this way. Okay, that's one of the ways of conditionally rendering class name in in Vue. Alternatively, you can also write it, let me try, not in this way. You can use the curly braces. You can set active if nav.active. If you write it in this way, it's also going to work. If you look at it, it's still active. All right, and either way will be working. This is actually the Vue way of writing it. The previous one that I showed you is the JavaScript way of writing it. Both ways will be working. And since we add a class name to this one, we're going to copy this line. We have to add a class name to the second one as well, which is that. So over here, we put in our class name. Like so. So now both the class name has been added to our navigation. Okay. The next job. The first one has been set inactive by default, but when we click on the second one or the third one, it's not changing. The first one still stays active, and nothing changes for the remaining one. We're going to have to create a function to handle these on-click events of the navigation. So what we're going to do here is inside our script, below this, we create a function called const handle nav active. And that's going to be an arrow function. And inside here, what we're going to do is that whenever the user clicks on the navigation, we're going to map through all the navigations and make them false, but none of them are going to be active. And then we're going to find and locate the one the user actually click on and make that one to be the active one. All right, so we must know the ID of the navigation the user have clicked on. And inside here, we're just going to loop through all the things using the JavaScript array function. By the way, the navs is the refs that we linked to our original data of the navigation. If you want to access the value inside this ref, you have to say navs.value, right? If you don't say that, the nav itself comes with a whole bunch of proxy property. You wouldn't be able to access the data straight away. You have to say navs.value, and then you can do the mapping to the array, okay? And inside here, we just say for each nav, what we want to do is that we want to make the nav.active equals to false. So in this way, you change everything to false, and then we find which one the user have clicked on by writing this if statement. So nav.id triple equals to the ID that has been passed in here as a parameter, which is also the one the user click on, and we set that one active status specifically to true. Okay, and once you've done that, you're just going to return this new nav object, and now the entire navs will be updated. Okay, so we have this function, and we have to inject this function into our router link over here. First, we're going to inject it below the class name. So here we say onClick, which is the one we use in React project, but in the Vue project we do not have the onClick thing. We use this one, @click. This will refer to onClick. Okay, onClick, we're gonna call the handle nav active function, and then we pass in the nav's ID, right? Because this nav's ID in the mapping or in the for loop is going to be the one the user click on. But you know that we apply to the home one, we also have to apply this one to the remaining navigation as well. So down here, oops, outside this one, down here, we apply this function again. The reason is because we have the conditional rendering of the navigation button. Home one is going to be the icon, the remaining one is going to be text bars. That's why we write it twice. And now you're going back, if you click on it, you will see the first one has been taken away. It's not active anymore. The second one's color is set to yellow, which is our theme color, basically indicates that one has been turned on to active, right? The third one, the fourth one, everything's working. This is how we're going to use a JavaScript function inside Vue to handle the nav active status. Okay, one of the job is done. And our next job is going to be the feature. The feature contains the shopping cart. The shopping cart is going to be reusable. Let me show you. When you look at the original design, the shopping cart shows over here, right on the right top. And if I scroll down, the header got hidden. And look at this. the shopping cart appear again on the right hand side, which is the same shopping cart as this one that contains all the same features. So basically means that we're going to use this shopping cart at multiple places on this DOM. So that'll make it an isolated component. So what I'm going to do is to create another component in the folder and call it cart button. Because it's a button to be clicked on. And that's going to be a view. Enter. So inside here, we're going to initialize this Vue template. Again, this template comes in as an optional API, but I like to use the composition API, which is the most popular one so far. And then for the style, we're going to make it a scope. And language, we don't need it. That's going to make it a standard one. And inside here, in the div, we're just going to give a class name called cart button. And over here, again, this button contains the link. When the user click on it, it should take the user to the cart page, right? So we're going to use the router link again. And then router link. And inside here, we set a to feature to the cart, which is going to be another page we haven't built yet, and give this class name a cart. And it's supposed to be in a shopping cart icon. So what I'm going to do, go into the Bootstrap icon, click on icon, and then you search for cart. And which one looks better? You could use any of these or this one. So I'm just going to copy this one, going back, put it back. Alright, so now we have our cart. And the next thing is going to be the number. We need to show the user how many numbers inside your shopping cart. So we create a span and give the class name of count. And here it's supposed to show the dynamic number based on how many items being added into the cart. But so far, we haven't got to that stage yet. So I'm just going to put in maybe 3 as a random number to show. And later on, when we come to building the shopping page, the shopping cart page, we'll finalize the cart function. Okay? And the next thing to do is to put in our CSS, which is going to be a quite a standard one. So here inside the style, the CSS, we'll make sure the button have a display flex, arrange everything in the middle, give a bit of a gap between the cart icon and also the text font, the number. And we want to make sure it has a certain font size. For the count, we want to make sure it looks larger with a background of green. Okay, something like that. So now we have that cart button. We're going back to our header. We import it. So here we say cart button, like so. You import it here. You have to register this import over here. So we say cart button, import that one from maybe the previous folder, yeah, in the component, the cart button. All right. So now everything looks good. Hang on. These two are in the same folder. I'm supposed to import it over here. Let me see. Yeah, this is the easiest way. We can import it directly. So now we have the cart button imported, and we load it in the feature. And if we go into the app, as you can see, this thing has been correctly installed on the very beginning on the top. Okay, so that's basically how we're going to handle a basic header. It's not finalized yet because this click events, we only use it to handle the color change, but we still have installed the function for navigating the user to the correct section. We're going to finalize it later on. This one, we only show the layout, but we haven't been able to link this one to the dynamic numbers of the item in the cart array. Okay, we're going to finalize it when we come to it. But this is pretty much the header. And our next job is to build the side menu. If you look at the original one, we got a side menu, which is very similar to our main menu. So we're going to jump in and do it now. So to build up the sidebar, if you look at the original app, when you click on this button, it actually toggles the sidebar. And this one rotate a bit, has an animation in it. And this one also allows you to click on different button. And with the color changes, the same logic as the previous one. And if you click on this one again, this one rotate back, and that sidebar got hidden. All right, we're gonna build it right now. So going back to your code editor, close off this few things that we have just previously built, And inside this component folder, we create a new file and call it a sidebar. And that's going to be a Vue file. And we say Vue init to create a boilerplate. We don't need this language. And also for the script, we want it to be in the composition API, so we say setup. And for style, we don't need the language as well. Instead, we're going to make it a scope because this CSS only belongs to this component. Well, once we've done that, we use the div to create a class name, and we call it a sidebar, like so. And inside here, it's just going to be an anchor tag. This anchor tag allows the user to click on and toggle. All right. So we go to the Bootstrap icon, and we're just going to find the menu. Let's see which one looks better. This one, menu app fill, and choose that one, copy. And here down here, we're just going to create an anchor tag with a class name called the menu tab, and then paste that in. We don't actually need the href because we're not going anywhere. This is only going to serve as a button. Okay. So once we have that, that's one part of the template. The other part, other than that button, we're also going to have a social icon. As you could see, there's 3 social icons down the bottom for Meta, Twitter X, and also the Instagram. So what we're going to do is first we're going to set up the data for this social icon. So we create a new array and call it the const socials, and that one going to equal to an array, sorry, not object, an array. And what I'm going to do is to put in the object, the data for the social, and then all we want to do is to wrap this thing, map this thing into our DOM. Okay. And the next thing to think about is that how we're going to do the mapping. In the Reactor project, we can use the JavaScript, the higher order array function. However, in Vue project, we're going to have to use the loop, the for loop. So here we say we create a URL and give the class name social, and inside it we create a list, and inside the list we're going to have our icon, which is going to be an anchor tag and something like that. So here we're just going to loop through it using a v loop. So we say v4 for each social in socials, which is the one down here, and we're going to assign a key, bind a key to each one, and that one equals to sci.id because each one has a unique ID, and that one gets combined here. Okay. And then for the mapping, for the looping, we just want to make sure that everyone gets looped into their own format, which is going to be the icon in Bootstrap icon. And so we say we're going to create a I tag, and inside here we're going to bind this class name to the class name down the bottom, which is the icon. So that's going to be social.icon, like so, right? So now we have actually created all of our icons, and the last thing to think about is just how do we render these things on our DOM. So the best place to put it, going back to our app folder, and it's going to be above or below the header, and we say sidebar, like so, and below that we're just going to import it, sidebar component sidebar. Yep, so all loaded, and I haven't given the CSS yet. So what I'm going to do next is inside the style scope, I'm going to put in the sidebar CSS. So put in here. Let's go through it together. So for the entire sidebar, I want it to be fixed at the left. So with a width of 5%, take the whole height of the screen with a padding of 30%. The background color is going to be our theme color, which is the primary one. We have defined this general CSS settings at the very beginning of the video. If you check that assets or main, you'll find all of this root color that we defined at initial stage. And we want to make sure it displays flags with a space between, and it's standing out on the top, right? So we give a really high numbers of Z index. And once we've done that, we should be able to go. And if we go back, you will see that thing gets pops up here. However, the layout looks a bit weird as the social icon has been evenly spread out as the remaining things. Let me see how to solve this problem. Yeah, I just found a mistake that I made. The looping is actually we are looping the list item, not the UL. So instead of putting the loop over here, I'm just gonna cut it and put it in the list. That's all gonna be all good, right? Because the entire UL tag is going to wrap all the list, and here we're gonna loop the list by repeating them for 3 times because we have 3 items inside the social array. Okay, so now you go back, you will see these 3 things get presented down the bottom and with the button at the right top. Okay, so now the next job is going to present the content of the menu and also create that toggle function, because when a user click on it, it's supposed to see the menu in between, right? The menu is actually a separate component. And what I'm going to do is to create another component called side menu. View, enter, and here we say view init to create a boilerplate. So far here, we're just gonna quickly clean this template, and for script, we want it to be a setup, and this one I want it to be a scoped one as well. So save it, all good, and we're just gonna make the div, give the class name, and that's gonna be our side menu, like so. And inside the side menu, we're gonna have our navigation, but we'll just leave it so far for now, right? So as soon as we have that component, we know this component is going to be rendered somewhere here. Okay, so what I'm going to do, go back to our sidebar, and below the sidebar, and we're gonna put in our side menu. So menu, like so. Because you inject it here, you have to import it down below inside the script. So import the side menu from, which is going to be the current folder, this one. Yeah, all good. So now this one is in, and so far you got nothing in here. If you want to show something, you just probably gonna create maybe a paragraph that's saying this is going to be the side menu. And if you check it out, you can't see because it's been hidden behind. So what I'm going to do next is that we need to create a toggle function that allows the sidebar to be toggled on and off, right? When the user click on the menu button, say for example this one, the sidebar gets expanded. Okay, so to do that, we're going to create another local state variable using ref. So we say const active, and that one gonna equal to ref. Initially, we're gonna set it to false as a beginning value because the toggle will, the sidebar will closed off at the very beginning. When the user toggle on it, this one will be changed to true. Okay, so the next function we're gonna write is handle toggle menu, and that one equals to, which is gonna be a arrow function. So inside here, we say active. Remember, whenever you use ref, you just have to access the value of it before you can manage the actual value of it. Otherwise, the ref itself, if you do console.log, you will know it's actually something else. I'll show you later on real quick. Okay, so whenever the user click on the toggle, it should change the value of that active to the opposite to this previous position. Okay, so we say not active.value, something like so. All right. So now we have that. As you can notice that we use the ref and you must import it. So we say import it. So import ref from Vue. This is like how you import the use state hook from React. Similar thing, right? And once you've done that, we have to install this function into our click on button, which is the anchor tag over here. So our anchor tag will be like on click. So we're gonna call this handle toggle menu. That's all, right? But you know that the anchor tag, when you click on it, you will have that auto reloading effects. So we'll say click, stop, prevent. So that'll prevent the default behavior of that anchor tag, like so, right? So now we've done that. If you look at our CSS, you will see our a sidebar has been fixed to 5%, and our side menu actually control the active status of it, right? And the menu initially, when it's on the original position, at the Z index 2000, font size 1.6, and when it's on active status, the menu actually have the transform effects. It rotates Z by 180 degrees. So this is how you get to see when it's on active, it rotates itself by 180 degrees. And we have to turn on this active whenever the user toggle it. So what I'm going to do here is inside the menu, we need to put down the class name, conditional class. So we say a class name, active. This is how you turn it on. However, it's going to be a problem because if you write things like this, it'll always be active, okay? But what we want to do is that only when the user click on, this one becomes active, and click again, it becomes inactive. So this one has to be bonded with our local active state variable. How are we going to do that? Very easy. So we're going to say colon class, and inside here we're going to write the Vue way of conditionally rendering that active class name and bind it to the class variable. So the second active is the active variable over here. If it's true, it's going to show the front bit, which is the class name. Okay. Actually, I just find that we should actually put the click events in the anchor tag, not in the Bootstrap icon. All right. So now, if you read it again, we have a class name of menu. Here we have another class name of menu. Don't worry about these two class names. The Vue project will automatically bind these two together, even though you have two class name, because this one is a static class name. It doesn't change. This one is a dynamic class name. It's actually conditionally rendering that local state variable active. All right, and we have our onClick events to trigger that toggle function. So when the user click on it, this one should rotate. Let us try an app to see if it works. Looks like that's gonna be some error. Let me just check it out what's going on. Yeah, it turned out it's just no error. I just refresh the page and this thing gets show up. Yeah, so I clicked on it, you can see this button gets rotated. I click again, this one rotated back. All right, that basically means our settings for the local active variable is working. And how do we toggle the menu? The menu itself, we build it over here. This one should be expanded when the user actually click on it. So what I'm going to do inside the menu, I'm going to put in the CSS in first, because later on we're going to show the user all the animations. Like so. So inside this menu, as you can see, initially I make the position fixed to the left minus 300 pixel with a width of 300 pixel as well. The height will take the full screen. When the menu is on active status, the left position will be 0. That means that when it's active, it'll move from minus 300 pixel to 0. That's how you can make the animation, make it pops out from the left. All right. So it also takes into account the very important active class name. However, do we have to create a new function here inside this component to trigger that on and off? No, because we have already handled this toggle in the parent component, and apparently side menu is going to be our child component. We're just going to have to do a property drilling to pass this property active into the side menu, so the parent component can control the child component. And the way to do so is quite easy. We're just going to create a property called active and make it equal to the active variable. All right, this one equals to this one. We're actually using the vbind to bind a property named active to the property value or the state value of active, which we have defined inside a parent component. Okay, so once we send that property to the child component must accept it. If you accept any property from the parent component, you have to register it inside the child component. This is the Vue way of handling property, which is different from the React way. I know the React way is actually a lot easier. You just do the object destructuring in your child component, and then you can use it straight away. But here you can't. You have to take that property and register it. And the way to do so is we create a props variable and use that define props function. So inside here, you can list however many property you have that has been passed from the parent component, but so far we only have active. So we're only going to define that one. And you need to tell Vue what type that is. So say for example, this one is going to be a Boolean because it's true or false. And you also need to tell that Vue if this one is compulsorily required or not. And for our case, it is true. Okay, so now once you register the active property, you can use this one that has been passed in from the parents component. How do we use it? We use it in a very simple way. Inside our div, we create a new class and we bind that class to our active property. Alright, so I should wrap it. Oops, like so, all done. So this means that we're going to add a new class name called active to the side menu if this active variable is true. And this active variable is actually the property value that we have taken from the parents component over here. Alright, so now your side menu should be working. Even though without creating any content, with that, we'll already be able to present the block of it. If you click on it, you can see the side menu gets popped out with that text was on the top. Alright, and if you click again, and that thing all disappeared. And now it leaves us to the one last job to finish this component, and that is going to be the content. The content is going to be the same as our navigation, which is this one, inside our header, because here we have our nav done already. We're just going to have to write this code again. And if you want to wrap it into a separate component, call it nav, and rewrite all of these, this process is what we call a refactoring. That's going to be okay. But for simplicity reason, and because we are doing an education course, I'm just going to reuse this code again. And I know it's repeating. In a real project, you should wrap it into a separate component. However, that step might get you confused in the process. So I'm just going to copy it. And into our side menu over here, I'm just going to put it in. Alright, so we have all of these things again. And also, since we're going to use that handle nav active, we're going to have to copy this function as well. So going down over here, we're going to import our data from our nav data and create our ref. Everything is going to be the same. So we're just going to copy this one and load it over here. Alright, so once we've done all the things, I'll show you how to do the refactoring. So because we use that data, we have to import it. So import that data again at the very beginning of the top. So things should be working so far with all good. Let me go back. Oops, looks like a bit of error. Let me double check. Yep, I have just found out we use that use ref hook here, but we haven't imported. So we're just going to import ref from Vue, and now this one can be correctly used. Save it, and now you can see this menu has been correctly popped out without any problem. Alright, so close it, pops out, close it, pops out. Right? On a second thought, this repeating is kind of tedious. So what I'm going to do is to create a new component and do a bit of a refactoring over here. And we create a new file called nav.vue, make it simple. And we're just going to do a bit of a view in it. So inside this template, what we're going to do is going back to our header, which is the original one. We're going to copy all of this UL. This one, copy, and put it in over here. Okay, like so. And inside our script, we're going to do a setup. Also go back to our header. As you can see, we're going to write this function and also the ref. So we're going to copy all of the 3 lines back here, and we're going to import the data like so. So now we have our functions ready. Okay, so now you can see the thing is actually isolated from the outside. All the functions and the property values and data belong to itself, which is perfect. This is the easiest way for refactoring. As soon as you've done that, and you should be able to handle it straight away. Saved it, and what we're going to do next is inside our side menu. This is the navigation. We're going to delete this. And this is the function that we write. We're going to delete all of these as well, including the data. We don't need anymore. all we do need is to import our nav component, like so. And down below, we're just going to import that nav component from / same folder, save it. And now you should have this one separated out as an isolated component. It'll work on its own, and this one looks much cleaner. Okay, so now if we go back, as you can see, this thing's still working. The reason why the color changes is because we need to put that navigation CSS into it as well. And for the header, we're going to wrap it in a similar way. Instead of showing the nav, we're going to delete this thing and create a new nav. And also down here, we actually don't need all of these. And we don't need this as well. And we're just going to import the nav from same folder nav. Okay, so now the header becomes much shorter and much cleaner as well. And if you're going back, refreshed it, as you can see, that thing's still there. It looks different because we haven't applied the CSS yet to the nav itself. The nav itself doesn't have the CSS applied to it. Okay, that's why it's losing. So the next job, we're going to create a scope and to finalize the CSS bit. But as you could observe, on the side menu, the nav actually shows horizontally, shows vertically, horizontally, and this one is horizontally, this one is vertically. So it's a different direction of spreading them out. How are we going to handle this issue? Again, the way is very simple. We don't concern about the direction of navigation inside the navigation. The direction of the navigation should be dealt inside the parent component. Okay, so here I'm just going to copy from the header with all the nav setting, because these are the original one. The nav that, okay, I'm just going to cut all of these and put it into our nav, save it, and this one I save it. So now you can see the header only left with the header, the logo, the feature. Very clean, right? That's the 3 components that we have. And if you're going back, you will see this one recovered with all the click events working. And if you look at here, this one actually recovered as well. Yep. So, but the first one, I actually wanted to be in a different color. On the main navigation, the active color is actually the yellow one. But this one, if you look at it, we want the active color to be a different color. So we have to do a bit of a conditionally rendering of that active color. And the way to do so is very simple. Go to the side menu component. We just remove that scope because we don't need it. And you actually don't need the side menu. We leave the nav. We leave this on as well. As you can see here, because we remove that scope, and this one will apply it whenever it's necessary, so that the hover color and active color will change to another one. So that's how we're going to make it work. Okay. And we do need to add that side menu class name to before this nav as well. Otherwise, it affects the main navigation styling. So we're just going to add in all of these. So it's going to be only on the side menu, the navigation will apply all these settings. Okay. And this one as well. This one as well. Okay. So that's all done. If you go back, reload the page, as you can see, the main navigation got no change, right? Still with the white font, and also when it's on active or hover, it's going to change to yellow. But for the side one, you can see it's in the black gray. When it's on active, it changes to sort of an orange color. Okay. So now we are all good. The side menu has been completed. Our next job, if you look at the main one, the original one, is going to build our hero section with all the carousel down the bottom, and also the content page with the click on animation. Whichever one you choose, it will give you that spinning animation comes out with the dynamic content of the chair. So let's jump in and do it now. So to build that hero section, what we're first going to do is to create a new component inside our component folder. So here we say a new file and name it a banner, or hero, anything you like, and .vue. So we're going to create a initialized boilerplate. And to think about, actually the hero section contains two big parts, right? One is the slide behind the thing. The other one is the swiper down the bottom. So we're going to build them separately and assemble them together. Okay, so the swiper gives the functionality of swiping around different images of the chair. So you get to click on them, and the slide behind gets to show the one the user have clicked on, right? So we have to build them separately. So inside the banner, and let me just change this template to make it standardized. So the script, I want to make it scoped, setup. So because we are using the composition API, and the style, we're going to make it scoped. So like so. And then we know that inside here, we're going to do a banner slice and also a banner swiper, right? We have two components to build on. That's the first thing, the big picture. The next thing to think about is, because we are building a dynamic website, the data is supposed to come from the backend, right? Not just hard-coded data. So in this application, we're going to build a mock API using the JSON server. If you look at the beginning of my video, we have already installed that JSON server, and we're going to use this one to create a mock API, and we're going to fetch all the data from there. Okay, so what I'm going to do is at the very outside layer of that application, we'll create a new folder called API, and this folder is going to use to hold our JSON file. And the next thing, I'm going to copy and paste in the data. As you can see, this is the data we're going to use. It's comes in a JSON format, and it has the item. Each item, we have the items array, and inside it, each item contains the ID property, the name, the brief, the colors, and also the default color, the quantity, the background color, and the price, and the discount applied, the image URL, and also the video URL. And in terms of the image URL, what I'm going to do is to copy that image folder into our public folder over here. So now you have all the images over here. And don't worry about the files and the data and also the static images. I'm going to share all of these with you down the link in the description, so you can build application along with me straight away. All right. So, but when you look at the structure of the data, you will know that we need to map these things onto our DOM. Okay, and we go through all of them, and this data will eventually be mapped into our slide, into our cart, and show to the user on the browser. Okay, that's the first thing. The second thing I'm going to do is to turn on that JSON server. So what I'm going to open up is a new terminal, and inside this new terminal, I'm going to watch that JSON server to run. So here inside here, you're just going to type in JSON server -- watch. So you're going to watch it, and we're going to use a empty port. So we're going to use the port 4000 to run this mock API, and then you have to tell it where is the JSON file for the server to find. That's going to be /, which is the root folder, /API/data.json. Okay, because our JSON data file is stored in the API folder, and API folder is in our root folder. Okay, once you type this code, just hit enter, and let me see what's going on here. Yep, it turns out I missed a typo. So what I'm going to do is move the cursor back. So here, instead of a port, it's supposed to be -- so -- watch, -- port, and then 4000. Everything should be good now, and then hit enter. So now you can see it tells you that we have this thing served on localhost 4000 item. If you hold the command key and then press it, and you are able to see this backend. So the backend is on the localhost 4000/items, and you get to see all the data has been served in the JSON format. So we're going to use this one as a mock API to build our applications. Okay. The first thing's done. I'll turn off the terminal and close off the data file. Back here, doesn't matter which component you're going to build, the slide or the swiper, we're going to have to fetch data first from the backend. Alright, so now I'm going to show you how to fetch data in the Vue application when the components get mounted on the DOM. First, we're going to create an empty array local state variable and name it const items, and that one equals to ref. The reason why I'm using ref is because it's reactive. Whenever the data changes in the future, this thing is going to automatically update your DOM. Alright, otherwise it's going to be static data and never going to change. That's the first thing. The second thing we're going to do is to use the onMount method. The onMounted method is the built-in Vue method that will allow the user to do something when its components get mounted on a DOM. Alright, so what we're going to do when this components get mounted, we're going to call, or we're going to fetch data from the backend, right? So here it incurs an arrow function, and inside this arrow function, we're going to use the ES5 fetch method to get the data from the mock API. So we say fetch, and inside here, we could actually say it's going to be the routes. I'm just going to copy it from our mock API. So that's going to be our routes, http localhost /4000 and /item. All right, that's the one we're going to use. This one's supposed to be an arrow. And once we have that, it's going to return with a promise. If this promise gets resolved, what we're going to do is to have that response converted into our JSON. Have that JSON format data converted into our JavaScript data. So we're using this method. And once it's done, we're going to put this JavaScript data into our local items. So what we're going to do next is then this data is going to trigger another function, which is arrow function, and we say items. Remember, whenever you use ref, you have to access the value first before you can manage it. Otherwise, it will pop up with an error. You'll say items.value equals to data. So we assign the data that we get from the backend to our local state variable. Okay, so that's pretty much it. And the last step is just in case you got any errors during the data fetching process. Say, for example, your internet got disconnected or the server's down, and what you're going to do is to pop the error message, and we say console.log, and we want to just e.message. Alright, quite simple. And in the real world project, if you do not want to console.log that error, you can use some kind of a UI or Toastify to pop the error onto the DOM. That's going to be okay. Alright, so that's the first thing first. And now we have that items ready. And the next thing to do is to inject the data from this item into our subcomponent or child component, right? Because the banner is the big wrapper that wraps the whole thing. Let me show you. Here we give that div a class name called banner, and inside this banner we're gonna wrap the slide, and we're gonna wrap that swiper as well. Okay. And the next thing to do, I'm going to give that banner CSS, so make it look so formal. And down here we're just gonna put in, quite simple, position relative, the full width, minimum height 90, like a 90% of the vertical height, and also give them a background color of our predefined color. And on the smaller side, we're going to make the whole screen. Okay, and that's pretty much it. And inside the banner, I'm going to build our first child component, and we call it a banner slide. So we say banner slide dot view, enter, and that's going to be a view init. So we create a boilerplate, and another one I want to build it right now is going to be our banner swiper, which is the carousel down the bottom, allow the user to switch between one to another. So this is going to be another Vue file, and we're going to have a view init. If I could type, yep, something like so. We have this one ready, and now the thing is going to inject those two components we just built into our banner. So one is the banner slide, like so, and the other one is going to be the banner swiper, like so. Alright, we have those two things. Not finished yet, because down here you must import those components. So banner slides, and from, it's supposed to be the current folder, which is this one, correct? And the next one is going to be the banner Swiper, oops, which is also from the current folder. My auto import is suddenly working, which is great news. And once you have that, it should be okay now. So what I'm going to do is just to test out our job is okay. So here I'm just going to put in a banner slides, just a plain words. And here I'm just going to put in a banner swiper, a plain words. And I'm going to reset this template to the way I want. So give a setup and a style. I want it to be a scoped one. And we do need a language. Very clear, right? So this one the same way. Remove that off. And for the script, we want a composition API, so I give it a setup. And then style, I want to make it scope. Okay, all good. So now this toChild component has been correctly imported into our parent component banner, and the banner is supposed to be shown on the DOM. All right. But so far, if you think about it, how many pages we have for our project? We have our home page, and we have our shopping cart page, and we have our product details page, right? The home page actually contains many sections. This banner section is just one of them. We have the banner section, and we have all of these sections as well. So we're gonna have to build a home page and put that banner section into our home page, right? And remember, at the very beginning of the video, I have already created a home view inside our views folder, and that is going to be our home page, right? And the next job is going to be quite easy because we're just going to go to the home page to inject our banner there. So what I'm going to do is this one. And the home page actually do not need a style. And here we're just going to remove that. So inside the template, I'm just going to import the banner. So we say banner. And inside the script, make it set up. We're going to import our banner. Import banner from, let's see, component folder banner. Yeah, that's the one. So now you get your banner imported into our home view. And how do I show these things? Supposedly we should load our home view into our app. Remember, the app is eventually shows everything. But we are building a multiple page website. If we load this home view directly into our app, what about other pages? Because the app only shows these things one by one. You wouldn't be able to tell which routes to go. All right. So this is the position where we think about our router. At the very beginning of the video, we know that our home view will be loading, the root path will be loading our home view, right? And now we have our home view built up, which contains the banner, and the banner contains all the slides and swiper, which is all good. We now just have to show this router view into our app so that it knows that we have a multiple page website, and I'm going to show different view based on your routes. Okay, so inside the app, what I'm going to do, below the header, I'm going to create a main and give ID of main. Inside this main, we wrapped everything. We wrapped our view. Well, we'll say router view, like so. This router view is a built-in component of Vue Router. Once you have that component, it'll go and talk with the index file directly. It'll check up the index file to see how many routes you got, which component I'm supposed to load on the different routes. Okay, so now we only have one route, which is the home view, and when this thing gets loaded, it'll find that, oh, you are currently on the root path. I'm going to load the home view. Where's the home view? The home view is here. The home view contains the banner. And where's the banner? The banner is here. The banner contains the slide and swiper. So that's how everything gets loaded up. All right, this is the React way of building routes. It's a quite important concept, so that's why I spent a bit more time to explain it, which is entirely different from the React way or the next way of building application, right? So now we are back. If you load it, everything looks good, and those two rows doesn't show. Let me see if I can find them in the elements. And we do have our navigation. We do have our main. It looks like a bit of an error that I haven't handled yet. Let me check out. One of the ref is not defined. It's a common mistake. So here we use item.ref and we have to define it. In Vue, all of those built-in Vue method, you must import them, and also then you can use them, except the two things. One is the router link, The other one is the Router Vue. As you can see in the app, we include the Router Vue component, but there's nowhere that we import this one. You don't have to. If you do want to import it, you can, but even you don't import it, you can still use it. That's two exceptions. All right. So once we've done that, we're going back to our app, and we just reload a bit. It looks like the error's all gone, and we go back to the elements. So now, as you can see, even though we don't get to see the text box because it's sitting at the corner, has been overflowed by the header, but on the elements, you can see we have the banner components ready, and inside it we have the banner swiper, and we have the banner slide. Everything's there, right? Swiper, slide, all good. So that's pretty much it so far for now. And now let's just move back to our banner page and start to build the remaining stuff. And for our banner slides and banner swiper, before we can use them, we need to pass in the data into them. Eventually, the slide is going to load all the chairs data, right, in different format. So the way to do so is that we're going to write a for loop, and because eventually we're going to have multiple slides being presented on the DOM. Say, for example, in this case, we choose 5. Right, there's going to be 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So we've got 5 items to be presented on the DOM, and so therefore there's supposed to be 5 slides accordingly to those 5 buttons, and that's going to be a for loop. And here we say v4, and inside here we're just going to say items. That we have no problem, just items. We actually don't need an index, so we say items in items. And we're going to bind the key with the item ID, right? So something like that. And then we're also going to create a property called item, because we need to pass the item itself as an object into our child component banner. So each banner must have the access to the item object. So here we say item, okay? So we create a for loop, and there's going to be 5 of the banner slides now, and each of them have the access to the item accordingly. Right, that's the first thing. The second thing is that we need to pass the data into our swiper as well. And that's going to be the entire items, which is going to be the array, and we pass that in. And also, the next thing to think about, there is going to be an on-click events at the swiper, because when you click on one of those, the banner background changes, right? So the swiper must contain some click events. How do we handle that? We need to write a function inside the parent component and pass that function into the child component. Remember, the principle is the child component will read the events, but the parent component will handle the events. Okay? So down here, inside the script, what I'm going to do is to write a function called handle banner change. And that one equals to ID, which is going to be an arrow function. And inside this arrow function, we say items dot value. We're going to map through all of them. And for each of the item, we're going to write a bit of a function to manipulate that background changes. And think about how do we change that. If you look at the data structure, you will understand immediately. Each item inside this array has a property called active. The first one has been set to true by default, but the remaining are all false if you go through them. What does it tell you? That tells you that only the active one gets to show to the user on the DOM, and the false one will be hidden. We can achieve this or approach these settings by CSS. You can set the CSS visibility invisible and opacity 0 to that slice to make it hidden, right? And set the active to true one to be visible to the user, which is absolutely handleable. So what we're going to do here is, depending on which one user click on, we're going to set the one the user click on to true, and the remaining one we're going to set to false. Same logic as the navigation. So here we say items active, we set it to false. This is going to set all the things to false, and then we're going to find which one the user have clicked on. Item.id equals to ID. If item.id equals to ID, basically means that we have find the one that has been passed in, which is the one the user click on, and we're going to set that one's active to true. All right, and we're going to return this item in the end. Very simple. Okay, so now we have done the handle banner method, and we're going to pass this method as the property into the child component banner because in the swiper, because the swiper is the place to raise this function. Okay, here we set a new property called banner change, and that one going to equal to handle banner change. So we pass this in. The colon means that we're going to do a variable binding or any dynamic value binding. So we bind this property to the function we write below. Okay, that's all. That's pretty much all what we need for the banner and also for the swiper. And now we are going to the slide to build it, to do the mapping. We actually don't need a home view. Let's close it for now. Inside our banner slides, what we're going to do first, delete this original words. I'm going to create a new class, and that class is going to be called a banner slide. And very important thing is that only one slide gets to show at a time, right? Even though we have a 5 slide that has been looped through, when we do this for loop, there's supposed to be 5 banner slide, but only one of them gets to show to the user, right? Depending on their active status. Only the true one will be presented. Therefore, we have to add a class name here to decide which one is active, which one is non-active. So we say class, and inside here, we want to add a class name if the item is active. Okay, so that's the very big picture of the building. And down here, since we're using the item as a property, we have to register it. Okay, so down the bottom we say const props define. This is how you register the property inside of Vue. And it's going to be a object. Inside it, you can list all the properties you want to register. Here we're going to register item. For type, it's going to be a object. And for required, it's going to be true. Okay, so now we have that thing ready. And because we registered this item, that's why we can bind it over here. If you don't register, it's going to pop up with an error. Okay, that's the first step. The second step is to build up our template for the slides. So what we're going to do here is first we're going to have some content to wrap the text words or plain text. And we create a div called content. And inside here we will have the h1. This h1 is going to hold the item title. So we say item.title. In Vue, we use double curly braces to wrap the dynamic value. And then the next line is going to be the paragraph, which is our subtitle. If you look at the original, this is a big title, this is the subtitle, right? And over here, we're just going to say double curly braces item.brief. We use the brief property. If you look at the JSON, we do have that brief here. We use this one. However, the brief sometimes is too long. We want to standardize how many letters to be shown. Therefore, we use a slice method in JavaScript and to say we only want to cut off from the first to 100 characters, no more than that. In this way, doesn't matter how long the description is for each item, we only pick the first 100 character. Everyone gets standard. Okay, that's our paragraph. And then the next one is going to be our color. So here we say div, give a class name of color. And inside here we have a h4, and we put a title for it. It's called color. And inside this color, we're going to have a color list. And inside this color list, we're going to have our color. And to think about how do we build this color, if you look at it, this color is actually selectable. Only the active one will have that yellow blurry effect, which is very beautiful. The non-active one will not have that blurry effect, right? So we must present these things using some kind of a for loop. If you look at the original data structure, you will see that the color comes in as an array, which contains the color objects, right? So we can loop through this array and map each one as a dot on the DOM. Okay, so here what we're gonna do is that we create a span, right? And this span, we're gonna write a for loop, v4. So we want for each item, each color, we have to change the name. We don't need the index. Inside item. And for the key, we're going to use the color ID itself Because remember, if you look at the structure, each color has the ID itself. We can use that as a unique key. And we're just gonna say it's going to be a color .id, like so. If you set up the structure correctly, there will be no error line down the bottom. Otherwise, it will remind you your syntax contains some errors. You must fix it. Okay, so that's our first step. And once we have that, we can set up the color using the CSS, but we need to set up the background style. Let me show you the second one, not this one. Each dot have a different background color, right? This needs to be dynamic, because if you look at a file, the data structure, the color only provides the hex code. We must transfer this hex code into some sort of a background color to make it dynamic. So what I mean by that is, after the for loop, we have to do a conditional rendering or the dynamic rendering of the style to bind the style to the color that we want. The way to do so is to bind the style, and that one going to equal to, inside of curly braces we say background, and I'm going to make it color.color. Don't get confused. What is color.color? This first color refers to each color inside the color array. The second color, it means that it's a property color, because each color also have the color property, this one, right? So we need to access each one of those objects and then find their color property of it. Okay, so that's what it is for. So now you have that style binded, and the last job is to give a class name. Only one of the color need to be set to active and showing that a blurry CSS effect. The first one, or the yellow one, is always been set to true by default. If you look at this one has active of true, remaining two has active false. Okay, we must have the class to decide which one is active, which one is non-active. So inside the class, we must say active color.active. Okay, something like that. So now we have this thing all set up. I want to actually show these things on the browser. So if you look at the browser now, you can see all of those titles and colors has been presented by row, because we have 8 items in total. If you look at the array, we have 8 of them in total. Now our looping has been done correctly, so it presented all of this plain text for 8 times, right? But I want to present it as a slide, and only the active slides get to show, not all of them. So what I'm going to do, I'll quickly pop in all the CSS for this component. It's a quite long one. I'll explain all of the CSS when we come to it, but so far we just reached the Vue object. We have the banner slide position absolute, make sure it takes the whole screen, and then initially it's going to be opacity 0, visibility hidden, and scale 0. That'll shrink down and make this banner slides all disappear from the DOM. Alright? And only the active one actually gets to show to the user. The remaining one will be all hidden. Okay, that's the logic. So when the banner gets added with the active class name, like what we did here, gets added with the active class name, that specific banner will show with opacity of 1, visibility visible, and transform scale 1. We actually have a bit of a shrinking zoom in and zoom out effect. Okay, and for the content itself, it will take the half the screen. Here I use the plain CSS instead of the Bootstrap, because I want to show you how to make the custom design instead of using any third-party library. And inside the content, we have set up the font size and color for the H1 title. This is for the paragraph we just built, which is the brief. And this is the color. We want to show them and display inline flex, and make sure that have a gap of 50%, margin to bottom 50% as well. Yep. And for the color list, each color span, we're going to make sure it has the background being styled inline. Only the background for the span has been styled inline. The remaining stuff are all styled here outside with the border, with the padding, and with the border radius 50%. That'll make that a round dot. Okay. So once you've done that, and now we're going back, you will see only one of those gets to show, and that is going to be the first one. How do I know that? Because the first one has been set to true by default. If you look at the title, that is going to be the Hyperflex Gaming Song 3.0, which matches the one we are looking on the DOM. Okay, so the remaining 7 slides all hidden up. Okay, that's our logic. not yet finished. Below that color list, we have to build few more things. And the next thing to build is below the color. So make sure you find the correct position. This is the kind of the space for the colors. And below that, we're going to create a new div called pricing, like so. And inside here, we're going to firstly create our button, which is the learn more button. And then we're going to show user the price of the item. However, some of the item contains discount. If you look at this one, the green one, you will see the difference. This is the original price gets crossed out, and this is the current price after discount. Okay, but not every one of them have discount. Some of them will only be sold at the original price. How do we conditionally render this price? It's going to be the challenge in this part. Okay, but first let's set up the button, which is also going to be in a router link. Yeah, like that, router link. And inside here, we're gonna take the user to another page. So we say this one is going to take the user to a page called slash. We're probably going to use the backtick for template literal. Something called, let's see. The correct syntax to use template literal is that you have to wrap everything with a double quotation and then put the backtick inside double quotation, so you can have the JavaScript template literal. This is one of the things I don't like Vue. In React, it's much easier because whenever you want to write JavaScript, you're just going to wrap everything with a curly brace. But now in Vue, you wrap everything with double quotation. It sometimes could be really confusing, but you'll get used to it when you build more applications. So we say products slash the money sign double curly braces. This is the template literal, so you can put in the dynamic variable here. We want to take the user to the products page with the ID. So items.id. And we know that the item has been passed in as a property inside this page, so we can access all the properties of that item. Alright? So in here, we're gonna give a class name, and we call it add to cart, and give a word called learn more, like so. So now we have our button. And if you're going back to our app, you will see that learn more button gets shown. Okay, that's the first thing. And the next thing for us to do is going to be conditionally or dynamically rendering our price. Okay, so for that we set up a span and give a class name of price. And inside here, we're gonna first show the user the original price. So what I'm going to do is to use a v if. We're going to check if the discount apply or not. So we access the discount property. If that thing let's say does not equal to 0, which is one of the condition, basically means that we do have a discount. And inside the span, what we're going to show is the money sign double curly braces. Inside it we say the price of the discount. I have to do a bit of math, so we say item.price and the times parentheses 1 minus item.discount. So this is the original price times 1 minus discount will give us the price of the discount. Okay, hope you can understand the math logic. And then dot, we want to keep 2 decimal places, so we say 2 fixed, or no decimal places, 0. I like to keep the home page cleaner, so I keep no decimal places, like that. So if it's a no discount, we're going to show this one. And let's see if this thing can be shown on the DOM. So we're going to our DOM. Yeah, the item for this one gets to show. Yeah, let's see if that one have a discount apply. It does. It has a discount of 5%, right? So this is the price after the 5%, because originally this one supposed to be sold at $399, but now on the DOM you can see this one sold at $379, which is the price after discount. Cool. And I'm gonna copy this one, because sometimes we need to show the user 2 price. One is the original price, one is the price after discount. We have to have both. So apply this one again, and we do not apply this condition though, because we are showing the original price under this situation, and the original price is going to be item.price. I remove this calculation. It's just going to be item.price and dot to. Sometimes you want to have that comma after every 3 digits. All right, we can add it by using the JavaScript code, which is the method called locale to locale string. Right, like that. Once you have this method applied, you can have that comma after every 3 digits, which will make your price looks nicer. Okay, so originally we want to show the price, and this is going to be the price after discount. If you look at that, you will see 2 prices now. One is the original one, the other one is the price after discount. But they all comes in with the same format, looks exactly the same, which is no good, because we want to show the new price in a better way. The old price, we want to shrink it, like something in this way. We want to make it smaller and get crossed out, right? That thing will make the user grab the user's attention that this is the new price. They probably want to check out even further. How do we do that? We need to do a conditionally styling. All right. So what I'm going to do is inside this span, this one, we have to bind our style into a whole bunch of things. We wrap our styles inside a square bracket. This is the Vue way of doing the conditional styling, right? And first we're going to check if we do have that discount apply. So item.discount and not equal to 0. If that thing is truthy, and then we want to show a bit more CSS setting. One is going to be the text decoration. We want to have the line through, and the other one is going to be the text decoration color. We want it to be a red, and we want to make the font size smaller, so we say font size. We want to set it to 1.2 RAM. So once you've done that, the Vue is going to check if the discount does not equal to 0. Basically means that this product does have a discount apply. We're going to apply the special format for the price. Okay, and now if we're going back, you will see that thing gets crossed out with a much smaller font, and the new price will be presented in a bigger font. All good. Okay, so that's our price. So once we've done the price, we pretty much have done all the things with the content. Okay, and that's all the content. Shrink it, expand it. Yeah, content take the left hand side 50% of the width, and then the remaining things will take the image will take the right hand side 50%. So here below it, below the content, what I'm going to do is create a div called item-image, and that one is going to have a load our div image as well. So we create a image container. By the way, these are all customized class name and CSS. No bootstrap, no third-party libraries, purely hand design, manual design. Okay, because I want to show you how to manually design a dynamic hero section with a plain CSS and HTMLs. And if we rely on Bootstrap or other framework, it wouldn't be that fancy. This is like a very good practice to train your skills in all elements, in all area for web design. So we'll create an item image container, and inside the image container, we're going to actually wrap our image. So with the image, the source, we have to bind it because the source comes from the backend, right? We do have that image URL here. We need to access this image URL to find our image. So we bind it with the item.image URL. So now you should have that image. If you go, this is our current project, you will see the image like this. It's been rotated upward down, right? Why is upside down? Because it has that rotating spinning effect whenever it pops out on the DOM. So initially it's going to be upside down, but once it pop back, it's going to be rotated to the correct position. So we have that done. And the next thing is to see If the image becomes active, we want to rotate it back to the, or we want it to spin back to the correct position, not the upside down one. So inside this container, I'm going to do next is to bind the class name to our active status. So inside here, we say active item.active. What this step does, if you look at the CSS, you will know the image container has been set to upside down. Rotate Z 180 degrees. This is how to make it upside down. When it's active, it's going to be rotated back. Okay, so that's why we need to make sure that every time you present an image to the user, you need to check if it's an active image or a non-active image, because only one of those will be set to active at a time. Remember this one? That's the key things for us to manipulate the whole banner page. So we'll have that one bonded. The next thing is going to be the background color. If you look at the original design, if you click on the blue one, the background color changes to the color of the chair. They all matched up. The green one, the background color changes to green. Okay. The red one, the background color changes to red. This is all linked up, dynamic. And how do we do that? Because if you look at the JSON, we do have a background color has been defined for each item. We're going to use this one to make it dynamic. So here we're just going to do a dynamic setting for the style, and we say style equals to background, that one equals to item.bg color. Oops. Save, and now it's all correctly set up. Okay. If we see this one gets rotated back, and also with that beautiful yellow background shown up, all good. Okay, this is the thing that I want. All right. Pretty much that's all what we need so far for the banner one. We have the content take the left hand 50%. We have the item image take the right hand 50%. And all the CSS settings are here, including the responsive design. The responsive design comes within two parts. One is on the smaller screen. The other one is on the mobile side screen. This one. All right. Like so. And soon as we have this one done, the next job is going to add on our swiper. Once the swiper add on, we are allowed to click on the swiper button and then change the background image. Okay, so we move on to the banner swiper. One of the great advantage with that Vue is that all the things belong to this component gets written on a single page, so you will never get lost. This is different from the React way of writing component. You have to create a separate CSS files or other files get imported. Here you get everything loaded all together, which is really handy. And for the banner swiper, remember that at the very beginning of the video, we have installed that banner swiper. This one. If you haven't installed it, npm install swiper, do it now. Once you have that, we can use it over here. And the way to do so is to put it in our swiper wrapper. What I'm going to do is to copy the swiper wrapper in, because that's quite a long code. There's no need to waste our time typing all of those. This is going to be our swiper wrapper. Okay, it sets up how many views you want. We want 3 views, because here you get to see 3 of those at a time. Each time you show 3, that's called a 3 per view. And the space between them is 30. If you want to make it narrower, you can shrink it down to 20 or 10. Do you want a navigation? Yes, we want. Do we have a special module that we're going to use? Yes, we do. And it's going to link to the variable that we're going to create over here. That's like the initial setting for the swiper. And the way to do so, we must import all the necessary stuff for that swiper inside the script. Something like so. We import the navigation from the module, because we're going to have the navigation, which is this one, the arrow button. Okay, and then we're going to import the swiper and the swiper slides. Okay, and we're going to import all the CSS that we need for this swiper. This is the 2 components that we need. Do we need a module? We need a module of navigation. This one is linked to this one. Sometimes the module is too long. We write it down the bottom in the script, and then we do a variable binding above. Okay, and then we know that this page we're going to take 2 properties from the banner. One is going to be the item property, the other one is going to be the function, banner change function. So once we have these two injected, we have to register this two property over here. The items is going to be an array because it's plural. The other one is going to be the function. So once we've done all the settings for the swiper and also we register the property, we should have this thing working all right. But where do we use this swiper slide? The swiper slide must be wrapped inside a swiper. So here we're going to say a swiper slide, like so. We're going to write a for loop because each slide is just going to be one picture, okay? And we're going to have 5 of them, so we're going to loop through all the 5 elements and then present them into our swiper. So here inside we're going to say v4, and for each item we actually don't need an index inside the items, but we only want the first 5. In total we have 8 items, or maybe you have the database, you have more items, 20 or 100, but we do not want to present all of them on the home page, right? So we only want the first one, the first 5 one. So we say slice 0 to 5, so that'll give you the first 5, and then we bind our key to the item's ID. Okay, that's how you bind it. And inside that swiper, what we're gonna do is to load our image, item image. So we say image, and that source is going to equal to the item.image URL, like so. And remember, we have also passed in this banner change function. This is the position where we're going to put in the function because you need to allow the user to click on the image and then change the background. Okay, so here we say add click. We put in that banner change function, but this function, if you look at the banner, take the parameter of ID. We must know which one the user have clicked on. So here we pass in that ID, which is going to be item.id. Quite simple, right? So now we have everything all done, wrapped inside our swiper. The one last thing is to put in our CSS. So the CSS, I put it in over here. We want to make sure the swiper are being positioned absolute down the bottom with a 50% pixel from the bottom, and also left 10% with a width of 30%. Otherwise, you're going to take the whole width of the screen, which is very, very big. And we give them a bottom and the top padding. For each slide, we want to make sure the background position center and give them a 100% pixel, 100 pixel width and height with a cursor point effect. This is all for the navigation button. The previous button, the next button, after is the pseudo elements give that background effects, which is this blurry background effects. And then this is the hover effects for the navigation button. And that's our image. We want to make sure the image inside the slide display block with 100%. Okay, so once you've done that, let's see. So we load it, refresh. Currently it's not showing. I have just found a import error because it's auto import. When I import from the swiper view, we actually import the wrong component. We do not have the view extension at the end. It's just gonna be banner swiper gets imported from this file. So once we've done that, this one gets buttoned up. It should correct. Yep, we get to see this swiper down the bottom with all the things working correctly. And if you click on one of those, you get to see this change straight away. The way it works is that when you click on this one, it's the same functionality as when you click on one of those navigations. It removes the active class from all of those slides, and then you find out which one you just click on and add a active status to that one you just click on. Alright, and only the active one gets to show on the DOM, remember? So now, yeah, all good. We have pretty much finalized the home page, the banner section. And the only thing I want to fix up is the navigation error. Let's see what's wrong with that. Yep, I just found that we should not scope this one because this swiper and the navigation CSS applies at the global level. If you scope this one, it only applies to this component here, and it wouldn't be able to override the global CSS. So we remove that scope, and then we go back. You will see this one gets overwritten by our own customized navigation style, which is really, really beautiful. Huh? I refresh this one, so now everything's working on the hero section. if you click on one of those, click on another one, it'll give you that very cool animation effects with all the rotating and spinning behind the scene. And the sidebar is also working. Yep. So the hero session, the header, and the sidebar looks all good to me. And that's pretty much wrap up the end of this session. In the next session, what I'm going to do is to keep building this product section with this very cool animated cars. And also for each cars, including this button, it'll take us to the individual page of that item. And on that individual page, we'll get to see the item's details, more images, and also we will have that add to cart functionality, right? Because this data actually from the database is actually loading for a while. I have this project deployed on the live server, so it's gonna loading a bit. Yeah, it has been loaded up. So our next session, we're gonna build this individual page with that color selectable, quantity selectable, and also add to cart function, showing the shopping carts, remove the item, back to the home page, right? And the service section as well, and the contact one, we have that validate form validator. I'm going to show you how to build this one as well. Yeah, it's more exciting things to discuss and being talked about in the next session. So if you like my video, please subscribe my channel, like it, and share it. Otherwise, I'll be seeing you in a very exciting next video. Bye for now.